You about ready, Butch?
For that one, yeah, I mean, that, it's strict out.
We're
There's no
live.
doubt about it, you know, and you can get it for more than that.
Well,
Yeah, we're live.
all right, welcome everyone to our mid-year budget workshop. So I guess what we'll do is have our wonderful finance director, come up and go over some of the amended items that we discussed about last week.
Okay, I handed out y'all kind of the amended budget of some things that we went over last week. And so I'm going to kind of go through this and just kind of, this is kind of answer some questions.
Will you bring the mic?
Okay.
There we go.
Is that better? Okay, on page 3, you should have page numbers down at the bottom. Page 3, at the very top, we have 3 categories of parking. And so I kind of want to let you know what those were. 4110 is parking general revenue, which is for parking spots and parking permits downtown. 4111 is parking revenue, and that's Passport. That's the new Passport app. And 4113 is the coins and the meters. So that's kind of why we adjusted that money around a little bit. For those different categories. On page 4, we had a question from David on 01-00-5600, which was miscellaneous expense. The increase in that is the tree cuts that we have done. We don't have a line item for that, so we have put them into miscellaneous expense, and next year we will be having a line item for the tree cuts.
Is that part of the mayor's?
Yes.
But-
Yes, it's part of the non-departmental. Yes. So that is what the increase is there, because we hadn't had those previously. On page 8 is we made some different adjustments on the police budget here. One, we lowered the supplies and office expenses, which is 5301. We took it back down to the original amount that we had originally budgeted. And the supplies equipment, we also removed it back down to the amount that we originally budgeted. These had got up to their limits, and because we were able to move some of them down into the PD step, then we were able to pull them out of their original line item and get back to our normal numbers of what we expected in those. 01-12-55-51 is the IT services. We increased that because this Ominga software that they use at the police department, they had just started on it last year. We weren't quite sure what the expense of it was going to be, and that's what's caused the that to be higher than what we had anticipated, just because that's a new service that they have. And then on professional services other, 01-15-55-72, we did raise that up a little bit. We had a hospital bill that we had to pay for one of the officers, and so that's what we put it in there because we didn't have any other place for it to go. So we just put it in our professional
Something
services.
that wasn't covered under insurance? Or?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't the insurance cover it?
It was some testing that I'm not really sure what the medical was. I don't know if we can even discuss that, but it was something that was not covered under the insurance that had to go to the emergency room, and we ended up having to pay a portion of the bill. Okay. Then on page 9, this is under the municipal court. The one I want to talk about here is 0113-5572, the professional services. The reason why this one pretty much doubled, Jessica, we send the budget up to Jessica, and then she sends it back to me, and then I kind of adjust it how we need it to go or where it needs to be. Lonnie had not done that in the past, so she was unaware how the budget actually worked. So in this item, she had only budgeted for half of what they needed because she thought we paid for half and the county paid for half, where in actuality we have to pay for it up front and then the county reimburses us. So I needed to raise that line item because she had only budgeted for half. So
And then the county reimburses us for half?
yes, we budget for the full amount, and we pay it. We pay everything like it's ours. Then we bill the county on the quarter, and they pay us back. They pay us half. The next item is on page 14. This was a catch also of David's. On 01175030, I lowered the payroll tax just a little bit because we had lowered the salary amount. So I did lower the payroll taxes down from $3,400 to $2,900. So that was a change. The next one is on page 14. Oh, nope, I'm sorry. Yep, that was 14. Okay, then the next one is on page 16. We're going to look at a couple of things here. On 16-10-00-5512, we have increased the maintenance on the equipment quite dramatically. I wanted to look up some of the higher items that we had paid. We had a huge amount of repairs on the street sweeper that totaled about $22,000. And then we had a repair on the backhoe, on the transmission of the backhoe, that was $8,000. So just in two items, we had $30,000 worth of repairs that had to be done. And the next line item on 10-00-5513, we raised that one also. We spent around $12,000 on putting a new spreader on the back of the truck of our 450. And also we had to spend about $5,000 on some hydraulic repairs on the bucket truck because it was out of warranty. So that's kind of caused those to be a lot larger than what we had expected them to be. But a lot of this, to be honest with you, it's not that our guys have done anything. It's just that the maintenance hasn't been done over the last several years, and these things are starting to break. So Simon's trying to do his best to get them in order. And also 10-00-5560, the utilities. I had asked for a large increase to about 16.5. We went back and recalculated and realized that as I was giving praise to the Director of Public Works, the Director of Public Works had miscoded some things, so I had to redo them. So we actually just need a small increase there. So instead of up to 16.5, it's just going to go up to 11,000. And a lot of that has to do with their utilities are going up overall for Public Works. A lot of it to do with the new building because they're having to pay the utilities on that. The next thing of interest, I kind of just wanted to walk you through on page 20. This is the discussion we had last time on Black Bass Dam. So I kind of wanted to just show you how it works here. If you go to line 5908, that's what we had projected originally that the cost of black bass would be, was $750,000. If you go up to the top at 4721, there's $300,000 that we were expecting to get from a grant. Then the transfer in on the 4815 was money that we had, that 325,000 of that was from COVID money that we still have, and 125,000 was what the city was going to put in. So that's kind of how that works in there. We'd had some questions about that last time, so I kind of wanted to just kind of explain that to show all the different parts of it. On page 24, I think it's going to be on, 24. On 24, we had a question on 4051. This just, it said miscellaneous interest. I've changed it to interest. How you work your income and your water sewer is we split it 50% on some things. So this is the interest that is earned on our bank accounts that we have. And that interest is then split between these two accounts. So if you see 8021 4051 and 8022 4051, they're the same product of interest from a bank account. They're just split between part of it water and part of it water sewer.
And that's because interest rates have gone up.
Yes.
Good for us, but bad for some people.
Yes. Okay. Then on your next page, on page 25, 80, 21, 55, 60 is utilities. We also lowered that. We had originally asked for a lot larger amount, and I lowered it down because of us recalculating those utilities from water. So that's in our favor. That's a better. And the other question was 8022 5301, which is supplies operating. We increased that quite a bit. Part of that, a good portion of that is because we've increased employees up there. We put a new billing coordinator up there in the last year. We've done some other things like that. So we've had to buy some equipment, buy some supplies and things like that. So, and then just normal, ordinary supplies is the reason why that's gone up. That is a quick.
So you say on page 25, 55, 60 utilities, we went down?
No, yes. What I had
Well,
originally.
how come we got 13,000 as a new?
Because what I had originally asked for was higher than 13,000. That's what I mean.
Shows it was 10.
No,
Am I looking at the wrong thing?
yes.
It was 10 in our original budget. And then at the
Yeah, he said
update,
it went down to 13.
it went down from the last time he asked for money. In the old one here?
Right,
Oh, I see, in the previous.
right. In 21, we had asked for 22,000 because
Oh, that's
it
what
had calculated.
you're referring to.
Right. So instead of asking for 22,000, we're only asking for 13.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we're saying that
That's
we're
what
asking.
you mean.
We're going up from the 10 to the 13, but we're not asking for as much as we were.
I understand.
So overall, on the last page, on 32, you'll see that we're still pretty much where we were at on our when we talked about the budget last time. We're anticipating revenues of 15, expenditures of 14.6, with a net of 457,000.
And the 457 is after, including the 54,000.
Yes, that 54,000 is what the
That's the increase.
yes.
Yeah, right.
We had originally said 403. Now we're saying 457, so the 54 is the difference, just to let you know how much we're moving the budget overall. Yes, ma'am.
Page 11,
Uh-huh.
14-5572, the professional services, that went up by 20.
Which one?
Page 11,
Uh-huh.
5572.
Yes, that is, that's for the fire. Yeah, I would have to go back and look and see what's actually
Okay.
in that account.
Okay.
But that,
Is it typically attorney fees or? You don't have to answer if you don't know.
Yeah, I honestly don't know of what that is.
Okay, gotcha.
But that's something I can look at.
I doubt it's attorney fees.
Curious. I keep telling the mayor I want a table up here so I can bring my computer, my laptop, and I can
Spread
answer
out.
these things for y'all right away. But sometimes it's hard to remember what's in all these things.
Well, you could borrow Governor Sarah's $19,000 podium.
You know? It's a
Oh, dang.
lectern. But yeah. I will say, Gary is one of the better budgeters as far as department. He's really good about taking his money from other places and moving it and putting it where it needs to be. So that,
He's actually 20,000 below,
yeah.
isn't it?
No, it's over.
We're over.
We're,
Yeah,
no,
that
he
one
originally
is
had
over.
1.442 and now he's at 1.422. So he's actually lowered his budget by 20,000.
Yeah, I see what you mean there.
Yeah, than what he originally started at. Like I said, he's really good at that, of putting the money where it needs to go.
And he's pretty conscientious.
Very.
That's good.
Can you, on page 15, 4040, excuse me, beginning fund balance, can you explain to me what that is?
What that is whenever we have revenue or we have money that's left over from the previous year, we have it in our savings. Sometimes we have to, we're showing that we're going to be pulling funds that we already have, and we're going to be using that in the expenses of the street department. So we're saying that to cover all these expenses of the street department, we're going to need to use a little of our own money. So that's what that, it's a plug figure that we put in there. And you'll see beginning fund balances in a lot of our budgets. But it's just saying that we have the money to pay for it. So we're not relying on our revenue. And sometimes what you have happen is you approve an expense or something in 2022 and then it rolls over to 2023. So you're actually using revenue from 2022 to pay for it. But you can't backdate the expense. You got to put it in 2023. So that's how we account for it.
And that's dedicated streets fund.
Yes, that's money out of the street, out of the actual street fund.
And then on 4503, why the huge difference there?
Because when the budget was done last year, we didn't have a time frame on the sidewalk project for the STEP grant. And so it was not originally included in the budget. So if you'll see, 4503 is the what we're expecting to get back from the state on the STEP grant, or not STEP grant, but on the TAP. Thank you, Simon. On the TAP grant. And if you'll look down to under streets in 10005591, you'll see the expense. So we show the expense of the sidewalk project, and then we show the money coming back in as the grant funds as revenue.
Okay.
But at the time, we didn't have that information when we did the original budget.
Are they about done?
They are, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got some touch-up to do, but I think they put in their final pay app, and I think they got their final inspection.
Well, I can't wait to walk on it.
Do what?
I can't wait to walk on it. How do I get there? Do I gotta walk in the middle of the street to get there?
Yep.
Good, or
Take Fuzzy's taxi.
Start at Bubba's,
at Bubba's?
yeah.
Fuzzy will take you there.
That was the most expensive part. That's the reason that got picked to do, because of that retaining wall situation. The rest of it's not going to be near as expensive. We want to get that one out of the way. So that's the reason it was, when it came in, we had to do change order, and and brought it to the council. Because we didn't have near enough money to do the whole project. So we decided to go ahead and get the most expensive part out of the way.
And then it ran into trouble.
Beg your pardon?
It ran into trouble too. Didn't they fire one of the contractors?
Well, we hadn't fired the contractor.
Huh?
Did you say fire the contractor? No.
Oh, that was the rumor I heard. Oh, you don't, okay.
Yeah.
Did you set fire to the contractor?
That's what Harry said.
Oh, he said you fired him.
Oh, no.
I mean, you set fire to him.
You lost.
Set fire to him or built a fire under him. or-
Built a fire under him, yeah, several
Yeah.
times. True, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we had a lot of issues we had to go back and get redone.
Yep. Is there anything on, because we brought this, or at least I did, are we gonna do any on this?
Well,
Yeah,
we wanted to
yes.
make sure everybody was okay with the mid-year budget.
Yeah, the only question I got is the one that she has on that 55 grand there, but it's not enough to start voting on it,
Okay.
at least for me.
I mean, we'll
And
get you the
we're
answer
gonna,
on that.
I started to say, we're gonna vote on it tonight. So I'll run back and look, it won't take me 5 minutes to look it up. So I can look it up and then we'll go to council. I can give it to you, that information, and then we can vote on it, if y'all are comfortable with that. So,
Sure, I am.
Okay, yep. It won't take me but a second to look it up.
Anybody else got anything on the mid-year budget adjustments? All right, we'll jump into our monthly budget then.
Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is our numbers for July of 2023. Page 1 is our sales tax. Our total sales tax was $338,989.92. Of that, our general fund received $210,384.69. Our streets received $49,956.41. Parks received $53,524.72. And the amount taken out for our bond payment was $25,124.10. On page 2, this is our comparison. So in July of 2023, we were down $16,000 over where we were at in 2022, which was at $301,937. Overall for the year, we're still up $25,447.68, which is a 1.54% increase over 2022. I do have our numbers for August and September, and we're still hovering at a 2%. So we're still okay. I mean, we're what we predicted. Page 3 is the bar graph on that, just to kind of show you that year to year over from 21, 22, and 23, kind of showing you where we're at. And the next page, on page 4, this is our revenue and expenditure report. As of 7/31/2023, we would be at 58.08% of our budget. At that time, our revenue at the bottom was $7.3 million, which is 50.74 of the budget, so running a little bit behind. And then our actual expenditures are 7.162, which is about 51%. So they're running, our revenue and our expenditures are running, just a little bit behind, but that's okay. And then we are at a net margin of 167,682.15.
Anything of special note that we should know about?
No, the adjustments are going to clear up a lot of the percentages wise, but our revenue is a little bit behind where we expected it to be, but we do get a bump. Usually our summer numbers will start getting, like our sales tax that we received for September would have been for July. It was a good number. So we'll see that percentage getting a little bit higher as we go along because we're coming into some of our stronger sales tax points. of the year. Following behind that, in the next few pages is our detail of the numbers of where all that came from. Anybody has any questions about anything specific?
I see the parking revenue is way down.
Which one? Which one? See, that's kind of why, how these adjustments are going to be important is because like your if you look at your parking lot revenue, 4111, which is your passports, we had budgeted 85 originally, we're at 44. So we're going to drop that 85 a little bit. But then on the next one, on the 4113, parking meters, which is your coin, we had budgeted 25. We're already over 25. So we're raising that we're going to pull in a little bit more on the coin than what we had expected. So we're lowering one and raising one, just kind of moving that money around because we had anticipated that the passports would take off a little bit better than they have. And so we're having more of a ramp up period on that.
Well, 4110,
That's general, that's parking lot permits. That's a little bit more harder to predict what that's going to be. That's your parking spaces where they pay the rent, and then also your parking permits. So that's a little bit
All right.
different. And in the amendment from 4110, we're taking that from $20,000 down to 10. So we're lowering our expectations on that. Because we had budgeted 20, we're at 5,500, so we're lowering it to 10. I try really hard to not overstate our revenue. So if we see a category that we really felt like was going to come in stronger than it did, and it's not, then we do go back during these budget adjustments and lower that revenue, just like we raise an expense.
that makes sense. I don't want to think we got too much money.
All right. If there's no more questions on that, we'll go to page 29. Oh, hang on, I skipped a couple. Sorry. Okay, page 27. This is our monthly revenue versus expenses. In July, we brought in just a little over $1 million, and we had $950,000 in expenses. So we brought in about $71,000 more than we spent. Then on page 28, this is the month-to-date revenue versus prior year. Excuse me. In the month of July, we had $1,024,000 or $1,024,000, and last year and during the month of July, we brought in $1.3 million. So we are down. On page 29, this is our capital expenditures. There's not really much updated from the last time we talked about this. The ambulance is in Houston, getting
When do you expect it back?
not for a while. I think he said November. Isn't that what he said, Mayor? It was gonna.
Property tax?
No, the ambulance,
When they-
the one we took to Houston. He took it down there in like August, 1st of August, I think, sometime in August. But I think it's going to be like November or December. I think it was going to be quite a while before it's going to be back.
I mean, even that still, 90 days is
Yeah.
pretty good if they can get it turned around.
Yeah. So, and Gary's staying on top of that. Everything else is pretty much unchanged. We didn't buy anything, acquire anything in July. Page 30 of 35, this is our comparative balances in our bank account. You can see it's pretty steady over June. We only had like a $3,000 change, so pretty much holding its own. Page 32 shows you the bar chart to just kind of show you where the banks are at, where the accounts are at. Page 33 is a comparative bank balance over last year. Kind of show you how the trends are the same.
Well, we've never seen this kind of stuff. This is good.
Did you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
Page 28,
28?
yes. It's just showing how we are down by 700. What is our action plan if we're down again in August? Because generally August is down anyway, which is what, June or July?
Well, as you can see, we had 2 months that we were down, but then we had another month up there where we were up over 500.
Yep.
So our overall, we're down 168,000 for the year.
Right.
In revenue, that month over month. But that, it'll be the sales tax to see how the sales tax comes in
Okay.
and the other revenues. So, and some of this has to do also with water billing, of when the actual billing is. Sometimes we get 2 billings, and the way the accounting system works, we get 2 billings in 1 month, and then we may not get a billing for the next month, and then the next month we get a billing. So some of that has to do with when the water billings were. It's not the $300,000 or $400,000, but it's part of it,
Right.
some of it.
Okay. I'm just concerned with August coming up because that's always a low month anyway for all of us. And then September being if it's light, and then we're rolling into winter. Like, I feel like we need to have a plan in the next few months if it continues like this.
I don't think we're at as far as our, this is kind of just a chart to show you where we were at last year on our revenue versus where we're at today. But also, as you can see, when we were talking a while ago, at 58% of an overall budget, we're at 51% of our revenue, but we're also only at 51% of our expenses. So even though this is just showing revenue, it has nothing to do with expenditure. So if we're curbing those expenses, not spending as much money as maybe we were back then that offsets.
You think
this.
we'll still be safe?
Yes, we'll still be safe.
I got you.
This, I don't see anything from our revenue and expenditure report that shows me any concern that we're going to run out of money or anything like that. Because, we still are, we're not making a whole lot, but we're still bringing
Sure.
in more money than we're
Okay.
putting out.
Okay.
So I think I don't think we're in as dire as this makes it look.
Okay.
This is just showing us that last year, this is what our revenue was, and this is what it is this year. But it does not take into consideration the expenses.
Okay, gotcha. I feel like as a business owner, this year has been definitely a different year than the last 3 years or even 4. So I'm concerned for myself as well as this because I'm feeling it as a business owner and this is reflecting it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I just want to be sure that we're all on the right track.
Yeah, well, we're watching it. We're making sure, like I said, especially that's why, we're raising expenses, lowering expenses, that kind of
Yeah.
stuff to try to make sure that we're staying where we need to be.
That we're safe. Thank you.
I think that what you're doing, Michael, is very prudent in that you're keeping expenses in line with the revenue, really, and that's and we've done that and still increased our vehicles and, improved our fleet and upgraded equipment for all of them and those kind of things. So, that's good. She's right. I have to agree with her on the revenue side of it that it's, the red flags are coming. And August is typically a slower month. She's right about that, and who knows what September's going to hold? I don't know. I'm not in the retail business anymore, but I still hear things on the street from everyone. So it's something we have to be cognizant of and pay attention to. And when it comes to time to prep the budget, and that's not too far down the road, we just gotta pay attention.
One of the other things that you can look at on here on page 32 is our bank balance comparison. This is our overall cash that we have on hand in our banks. If we get to a point to where our expenditures are way exceeding our revenue of what we're bringing in, we're going to start to see a big cash burn, because we're just not going to have the cash. We're going to have to dip into our reserves to pay for these things. We've been able to keep this pretty steady, and that's even, I know it shows that, we've gone down from 7.6 to 7, but that's not necessarily because of everyday expenses. That's because of the Public Works building, the auditorium, things like that, some big expenditures that we have spent. The Public Works building was $700,000. Those are things that we started paying for this year that is caused that balance to go down. But once those are paid for, we see a leveling out. We start seeing this leveling out of the cash. We're not increasing it a lot, but at least we're not burning through it. So a lot of that is going to be to keep an eye on where's our money at? Where's our cash at? Are we actually having to dip into our pockets to pay for a lot of things that, are everyday expenses? And right now, we're not having to do that. We're having enough revenue come in that we're able to cover the light bill, those kind of things, pay those bills. And so that's an important one to watch, is this bank balance. And that's why we put it in here. That's why we put it in a chart format, is so that it's easy to just kind of look at, to see. Because if you start in about March, that's about when we had the Public Works building paid for. And so if you start in about March, you see that's pretty level across through there. We've gained a little, lost a little, but for the most part, we're staying pretty even there. So that's another good chart to look at regarding, the question that you have. Okay. Page 34, we updated this one from last time because I hadn't updated the payment, but our next payment on this will be on 10/1 of 2023, which that's coming up. It's a payment of principal and interest. The payment will be $289,407.10. This is not a payment that comes, that like I have to write them a check for that. This is that when we talk about sales tax, we talk about that $25,000 that they hold out. They hold that out throughout the year, and they put it in an account at Regions so that when this payment comes, they make it. So
it goes into an escrow account.
Yes, so the money's already there, so that's not some money that we have to come up with here at the 1st of October. So that money's already there in the account, but that payment will be made. And that'll take us down to right at about $1 million on that bond.
Awesome.
Page 35, this is just a chart. I did these for the auditorium, and I did it also for the Public Works building, and this one is just on the Van Buren sidewalk project. At the top of it, you see the breakdown of how it all plays out, and then down at the bottom of it, you see the payments that we have made. These are payments that we will make, and then we have not received any payments from the state yet as reimbursement. Once we start receiving those, then I'll add those also to the chart just to show you. But this is just for your information. If you have any questions or whatever about it, to just kind of let you know where that project stands, what it's costing, what we're paying, change orders, anything like that. And that's it.
I do have a question for you. This goes back to Ms. Lane's comments about the revenue from taxes. And I understand that there are retail taxes, so forth and so on, but the numbers that you present to us with sales tax and whatnot, and me, I'm not quite sure how to put this, so I'm just going to put it out there.
Go for it.
And me and Steve sitting on CEPC, the numbers don't match. So I'm curious to know, I know that you have nothing to do with CEPC, but it doesn't make sense to me that CEPC numbers keep going up but the cities keep going down. There's something wrong there, and
Well, one, you're talking about two different types of taxes.
I understand that.
One is on, the food and the lodging. One is on all of retail. The sales tax are submitted to the state. The business, you know where this, like they collect the sales tax, say in July, they submit it in August, and then they submit it back to us. They send it back to us in September. Whenever we talk about our sales tax, this is not what we've gone out and collected. This is not what we've gone and done to people or whatever. This is what they have submitted to the state, and the state submitted to us. And this is, as far as it is what it is, as far as coming in and how it is, how to balance it with what the CAPC is collecting, I don't have an answer for that, honestly. Because this is the sales tax that the state is collecting, that they're remitting to us. What Scott reports is the sales tax that he's collecting.
And there are 2 months separation between the two.
I know there's the separation. I guess in the overall grand scheme of reporting taxes, it doesn't make sense to me that CAPC is reporting always up, yet everything else is down.
Your difference, I think, is in the retail.
I'm talking,
Well, but your lodging and your food, the lodging not so much, but the food is, it's a day tripper thing. I think it reflects that they're not spending as much money on in the retail side of things. And that may be where, if you could go back, and I don't know, I don't think we can, I know we can. Went back and checked your reports, your food, beverage, and lodging is running up there, but the retail is down, and that's what drags it down on the averages.
In our last report from sales from the state, we were still up.
Well, that's sales tax overall.
Correct.
Well, and it very,
we
very
weren't-
well may be, but it's not up.
Oh, it's not up 20% like it was, no.
No,
But
and you're looking at a 1%, just a little over 1%
I think we're,
for the month of July. And actually that's the annual aggregate, isn't it?
That's the annual aggregate. And as of the report that I gave to the mayor, we get our sales tax report on usually around the 23rd, 24th, 25th of the month. We got our sales tax report for September for our deposit, and I want to say it's $340,000, $338, I think is what it was. So we're still up, and overall our aggregate is at 2.4, I believe, as through of September. So, there's a lot of factors that go into it, David. One is like Scott closes his books and then immediately reports his income. We don't get our income for 2 months. So you're talking about two different time frames. As Terry was alluding to, somebody can come to town and they can drive here, they buy their gas before they leave home, they come here, they rent a motel, they eat at the restaurants, they shop but they don't buy anything, and then they leave. Well, you're getting all the taxes from the hotel, from the food, all that kind of stuff, but the retail didn't get any taxes. So they're not going to necessarily be parallel, because just because your hotel and your eating goes up does not mean your retail tax is going to go up. And that's what we're relying on. And the reason why ours, we don't have a big box store, we don't have a Walmart, we don't have anything really big that's pulling in our taxes. So it's the normal businesses that are pulling in the taxes, and a lot of those are going to stay steady, because a lot of that's going to be, you're going to have some tourist traction there, but you're going to have a lot of local normalized traffic.
It used to be that when retail was a part of the CAPC and they collected, no, they never did collect that. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did. They collected, because I paid for the store, yeah. It was pretty much a third on that 2% collection. It pretty much ran that way. But, yeah. Now, there's
And the other
appearances now
thing
that
is
it
we're
doesn't.
also starting in the hole in the fact that CAPC collects 3%, we collect 2.375. So we're collecting a little more than 0.5%. So if somebody comes out and buys $100 worth of retail and they spend $100 in the restaurant, they're going to pay more taxes to the restaurant than they're going to pay on the purchase of the items that's going to come to the city part. So, you know, the retail part that we get is the 2.375. The CAPC gets their 3%. So we're already starting out at a lower level.
This is exactly what I've been asking for 2 years now, because it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. We don't have enough retail shops for that number to be this drastically different. There's just no way.
Well,
Well, you're
people
also,
pay,
it's also gas, liquor, there's a lot of others, not just all clothing and downtown merchants.
yeah, and the hotels pay sales
Hotels,
tax on
restaurants.
top
Exactly.
as well as the CAPC tax.
Exactly. So you're saying the majority of the people are hotels and restaurants that still contribute to the city tax as well as the CAPC tax, but in the city tax, we're also doing retail, which dilutes that a little. There's no way. There's no way, in my opinion.
Add the 2 months of drag, you know. and
Right,
that
right.
Kind of,
But it
Well,
doesn't, it still doesn't match up.
You can go back and compare the same months.
Exactly.
You know, you can take what you collect in September, you know, those, August was doing payroll by the 20th of September, so now you've got August's numbers at the CAPC. As soon as he gets them all tabulated, you have the whole month. Okay, so then, for the month of August and November, you'll have, the month of August for the city taxes, and you can, and compare that. Or
How much
you just
is-
can't break out what's retail and what's not, that's the only problem.
How much is he estimating for his total taxes for the year on his financials?
That I don't have in front of me right now, but
I mean, because if you go back and you look, we're, you know, in 2022, we brought in $3.2 million in taxes. I don't think he's bringing in that much, is he?
no.
Okay. And so already for the year, we brought in 1.6 million, almost 1.7 million in taxes. So we're almost at 2 million. Is he going to bring in 2 million in taxes this year?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's just,
Well,
So-
what I'm hearing overall is most people are down about 25%, so I've questioned the same thing. What I am seeing, though, is we're saturated with lodging, so there's a lot more lodging that's upping the tax. And what I'm also seeing...
No, we're not. Look
Yeah.
at the motels that have closed. We're not,
Yeah, but there's nightly lodgings everywhere.
Now
I'm
it's
Miss Slade will
Airbnb.
agree with me on that, and I think
Now it's-
David will too. And the price of food has just gone. So I think that's a
with that.
reflection of where the money's coming in the restaurants. But I don't think overall the business is, I think the business is down, isn't it, David?
oh yeah, absolutely.
You know?
I think the real problem is not whether they're matching. It's the CAPC is still toting that we're in high times and we're doing everything right. We're doing everything we should be doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and
But
to
we're
me, the
down.
reflection of the city and state taxes doesn't jive with the 3% of a CAPC, factoring in the difference of percentages of taxes collected. Does that make sense? Okay. So with the revenue coming in from taxes, you have no way to break that down between retail, restaurant.
No.
state doesn't provide.
State doesn't provide that to us. All they do is they provide us with basically a receipt that they download to me once a month. I get it. It tells them how much money they're depositing.
Is it something we can ask for?
I know that you can ask Department of Finance and Administration what businesses are paying sales tax, so that we can find if there are businesses that are not paying sales tax, like some of the lodging, may not be paying any sales tax. Nightly lodging, I can see that. They may be paying CAPC, but they ain't paying sales tax to the state. It's a possibility.
Well,
They can't get a license.
we have to. We fill out something every month.
Yeah, if you pay the CAPC, you're gonna have to pay
Yeah,
the
if
state.
you're paying
Yeah.
CAPC, you better be paying the state because all they gotta do is look at, you're paying CAPC tax, you're not paying city, state tax. You can't do that.
Do they? I don't know that there's an audit that would catch that.
I guarantee
There's
you.
not an audit that would catch it. I don't think so.
I don't think it
It's pretty separate. It's pretty separate. Unless you're delinquent in one of those. And then they're going to reach out to the other firms. Could be a
Question,
thing.
Michael. I know I collect the liquor taxes, and I know that's our local liquor tax, but, and I know like we can access the DFA numbers, but I don't know if the city can perform its own audits since state collects it. I know with liquor taxes, I would have to tell the state, hey, can you audit this person? We can't do, it's not like CAPC. We can't do our own audits like CAPC can, technically.
But not maybe an audit, but if they're delinquent, can't you say, okay, these people are delinquent, and then that goes out to the other tax authorities?
We don't know if they're delinquent.
No.
How would you tell if they're delinquent?
No, CAPC gets a monthly report of businesses that are
compare
delinquent.
it to the CAPC numbers?
Correct.
I don't know, because those tax records, they're very strict on how sharing those tax records. So I don't know if we'd be able to cross-share. I don't know if that's a legal thing to do. So I would highly recommend running this through legal before trying to cross-reference
We don't-
taxes.
We don't get that information from the state anyway. They don't give it to us. We don't know.
I know, I think this has become a bigger ball than I wanted it to be.
You opened that can.
And it was, I felt it was very specific, and local sales taxes are going down, CAPC taxes are going up, and it doesn't make sense to me how that is happening. And I'm open to discussion on how that could be going on.
Well, I can tell you that Scott has been like a attack dog as far as finding businesses that are nightly lodgings that haven't been paying their taxes or bed and breakfasts, and he lowers the hammer on them, collects the money. So there's a lot in the past that have not been paying CAPC. I know that doesn't answer your question,
No, it doesn't.
but
Let me look into it and see what information I can find from the DFA, and what other
I
information
mean,
we can find.
I'm not an accountant by any stretch of the means. I'm just curious if DFA can, for our local side, hammer out explicitly, this came from retail, this came from lodging, this came from food and beverage. Because the report that we get from you showing that it's down just simply does not make sense to me, the numbers going up for CAPC. Right, Autumn?
Yeah.
Yeah, I questioned it too.
We're getting close to 6
Yeah,
o'clock.
I'm done.
Does anybody have anything on the budget? Any questions or anything? Just want to make sure we get all that answered first. Okay.
Were we going to hear from the police department? Is that what?
They're not on the agenda.
Okay. For the gun?
We should have done that earlier.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah. All right. Budget meeting, so we will adjourn and reconvene here in 3 or 4 minutes.